Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my review of Where'd You Go, Bernadette, starring Kate Blanchett. Not really. I caught that movie on a plane. I really liked it a lot. It was one of those movies where I watched it to roast it, and then I was like, I hope you find your joy in life, Bernadette. This is your second act. But anyway, this is my review of Quantum of Solace, a movie that I have absolutely hated for 10 years until last night. So, Quantum of Solace was the first sequel of the Bond era. Well, I think that's probably the wrong way to say it. The second Daniel Craig movie. Because there was continuity from the Pierce Brosnan era with M. So this was the second one, and it came out pretty quickly. Casino Royale came out in like Christmas time of 2006, and then here was just 2 years later, the next movie, and that's pretty fast for James Bond movies. It had the bad luck of having been there was a writer's strike, so basically, if I remember correctly, they had to shoot with a script that they were not allowed to have writers work on. So it was a lot of Daniel Craig and the director Gary Forster. He's the guy who did American Beauty and Road to Perdition. They were just writing stuff before scenes. I believe also one of the Bourne movies got caught in this same era where they just had to just basically wing it. So considering that I was in Afghanistan when it first came out, I did not see it until mid-deployment leave. So for people who don't know, at least at this time, if you're in the American forces, if you had a deployment that was more than, I think, 8 months, you got to go on leave. Now, the goal was to have it in the middle, but you can't send your whole, platoon in the middle. So people would start going on leave from like the second month to like 2 months later. So I actually was one of the late ones, one of the last ones. And it was on the plane when I was coming back from America. But it was my flight across the Atlantic. And at that time, I hadn't done many overseas flights. It was literally just for deployment. So I think this was my fourth one. So at the time, that was just a ridiculously long flight. So I was like, I'm going to take some sleeping pills. So I took some sleeping pills, and I think I took too big of a dose because I was gone for like about the next 36 hours. Not just for the flight and all the connections, although somehow I made all my connections, but even all the way up until getting back to CAF, Kandahar Airfield. So that was like my last place before taking a helo, to FOB Ramrod. Is you're going to be there for like 2 days because it's not like a bus. You gotta wait for a spot on a bird. I'm telling this story out of. Well, anyway, I was so ridiculously tired that even like almost 2 days later, when we got settled in and I had checked out my rifle from the armory on CAF, we basically had like a day and a half to do whatever. So I went to the MWR tent and they had like a little movie room, and I promptly fell asleep for 16 hours with my rifle. Now that's pretty bad already, but I guess I just kind of thought I was still at home because by the end of that 16 hours, my blouse was off. I just had my t-shirt on. My boots were off. My socks were off. And I was just chilling in this recliner with my hands like wrapped around my M4. I remember like every 3 hours, like waking up and seeing some Steph NCO grumbling at me and then just falling back asleep. But what I'm saying is check the proper dosage on your sleeping pills. The other thing I want to say is I did not see the movie in the ideal environment. I saw it completely doped up on too much sleeping pills. So my memory of it was very odd. All I remember were the very, very disjointed and choppy fight scenes, and then something about a hotel in the desert. And I actually thought it was a dream. And later on, I was talking about the movie. It's like they go, "Oh no, that's the movie," But obviously, I slept through about 2/3 of it. So I remember just every time I would just hear the title or see anything about it, it would just make me angry. It's like, that was so terrible, and everyone else kind of agreed when I said it was terrible. So I just rewatched it, and it's not terrible. It's not great. I would say it's at the middle part of good. I actually fairly enjoyed it. The reason I enjoyed it is because, we had Casino Royale, which was a soft reboot / origin of James Bond. And then we had Skyfall, which was basically, as someone said, basically ripping off the Dark Knight. You had your Joker character, you had your, Dark Knight of the Soul type of thing, and really being kind of reduced emotionally. But this is just like the straightforward James Bond adventure. He is dealing with some trauma over the things that happened with Vesper Lynd in Casino Royale. But honestly, it's just like a straightforward, like, spy mission. And that part of it, I really liked. I actually liked that it had nothing to do with the end of the world or nukes or anything. And it was just some guy negotiating water rights in Bolivia. Like, that was it. That was it. He had plans to do similar things in other countries, but it also sounded like it'd probably take him like 5 years to get this far. So, yeah, it starts off, and for some reason, I got in my head that Sam Mendes had done all of the movies except for Casino Royale, which was Martin Campbell, I believe. But I was wrong. They were switching it up, and then it's Sam Mendes for The Amazing Skyfall and The Terrible Spectre. And then they got Chris, I don't know, he's got a Japanese last name. I remember him from like 10 years ago. There was like a film school reality TV show, and he was one of the people on it. So whenever I see him, I was like, really? I mean, he was like the most normal and competent, but you don't think someone's going to go from a reality TV show to, directing a Bond movie. But anyway, so Quantum of Solace is about, this French guy who has no real affectations. I was reading some of the trivia, and the actor was like, I asked for like a scar or a beard or a shaved head or a bleeding eye or like a stump. And he's like, no, just be this French guy who's kind of an asshole. And he's like, I was already doing that because I'm French. Got him. Anyway, the fight scenes, especially the chase scenes, were and are very hard to follow. In fact, they almost feel like this is how I would describe them. You know how you'd have like Batman Forever, and they would have Seal Kissed by a Rose, and they'd have the music video, and then they would just show random shots from the movie. And they weren't trying to like have you follow the story. It's just like, oh, here's Batman jumping out of a window. Here's Two-Face laughing. That's what it feels like. It feels the action sequences are cut so choppily that they feel like montages to remind you of the action sequence. It's a pretty simple story. Bond has to go undercover. There's scenes of him just like on a motorcycle, just watching stuff happening on a dock, like not even binoculars. It's like pretty simple. We get to get some early, Stranger Things, Hellboy, and now he's in that big guy. He's in this looking really young, because it's like, 12 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. And this was the one that had the most of M in it. It also had the Tanner character, who I completely forgot existed. They kept in Skyfall. They're like, "Oh, Tanner." I was like, "Who the hell's Tanner?" I don't remember Tanner from anything. So I don't know if Tanner was in Casino Royale, but he's definitely in a lot of Quantum of Solace. It's got Olga Kurylenko, just looking awesome. She's a great Bond girl. And then they got Gemma Arterton, not Atherton, as I thought her name was, who she looked familiar. I was like, who is she? She's from that Hansel and Gretel Vampire Hunters. Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. Oh, jeez. I mean, Olga Kurylenko looks great, but Gemma Atherton is just, I mean, she's only in like 5 minutes of the movie, but she's great. This is like I said, it's a more rugged Bond. Half of this movie, he's just kind of in like chinos. You know what I mean? Some good fights, some good chases that are again too choppily directed and especially edited. Although sometimes they get kind of artful. A couple of times, they actually do make a montage. They do some interesting things with the audio, sometimes cutting it out during these montagey action sequences. I don't remember any gadgets at all, like zero. I think good car chase. Yeah, good car chase. Besides that, yeah, it's a recommend, especially. So it's a recommend, but this is how I'm going to recommend it. This is one of the rare movies that got exactly what it deserved. Casino Royale made about 600 million. This made a little bit less, and then Skyfall made like 1.1 billion. So the amount of money is actually kind of what it deserves. It is not as good as Casino Royale. It's about half as good as Skyfall. And a lot of people were saying I really need to give Casino Royale a chance. I think I might have undersold it. I have great memories of watching it. But it was so long. And I do have a memory of almost wetting my pants for like the last 40 minutes. Because, I just assumed like it's a James Bond movie. It's going to be like 2 hours. No, it's like 2 hours, 30, 40 minutes. So like what I thought was almost the end, I was like, okay, 5 more minutes, 5 more. So I think I kind of spoiled it for myself that way. But I remember it being very good. But I also remember it being kind of like, it's an origin. So here's him, being hired, and here's his first, like I like Skyfall. It's more emotional. It's more stylish. So I am gonna rewatch Casino Royale, and I'm going to rewatch Spectre, and then wait for 6 months for the next one to come out. I had planned to watch all of the Star Wars movies, one per day, in like the 10 days leading up to the release of what is this new one? I don't even know, Rise of Skywalker. But I was like, I'm fine. But so let's see. I watched Skyfall, and now I'm watching the one before it, Quantum of Solace. So should I be really annoying and watch Spectre next, and then watch Casino Royale? I was just reading about Spectre, and they were saying something I forgot about Spectre, that Spectre actually ties all of the Daniel Craig movies into one story. I guess Blofeld says, "Oh, I was the one behind Le Chiffre in the first movie, and Silva in Skyfall, and I don't remember the French guy's name from Quantum of Solace, but they established this organization called Quantum, and then it's like Quantum is a subsidiary of Spectre. So yeah, I think I'm just going to be annoying and weird and watch third, second, fourth, first. Yeah. Okay, so I'll watch Spectre next, although I don't know if it's going to be my next video. So anyway, thanks for watching. Oh wait, I don't do that on this channel. See ya!